pass. Councilmember Drosty. Councilmember Drosty.
So who would like to start public comment? Please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Katie Lonk. I am a co-director with the Buddhist Peace Fellowship. And I heard a request earlier for calm, so I'll put on my best soft voice. When I say fuck the police, I don't mean you personally. I mean that the karma of slavery is heavy. And the system of policing in this country is historically based in slave catching. I mean that the structure of policing has always been more focused on protecting property than people. Slave catching, after all, was designed to prevent people from stealing themselves into freedom. When I say fuck Urban Shield, I mean that annual war games and weapons expos incline our society towards violence and dehumanization. I mean that we must divest from death and war and invest in reparations, decolonization, black futures, real disaster readiness, and a sincere beginning to the impossible task of making amends for centuries of US war crimes around the world. And even if you're not ready or willing to say, fuck the police, I hope you will at least join a legacy of those like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who declared his eternal hostility to systems of racism and militarization. Thank you.
What I want to talk about is the death of Kayla Moore. Let's not forget, Kayla Moore died at the hands of your Berkeley police officers because she was having a mental health crisis. And you can look down, gentlemen, and ignore me, but she is still dead. Her roommate called 911 to get her help, and your officers killed her. They killed her. And your city manager, to my knowledge, decided not to fire those officers after the PRC even found them liable. So he's trying to get her case dismissed.
Are you talking about Urban Shield or any of the items on the agenda?
This is related, sir. Do you not care that a black transsexual woman was killed by your police officers? Doesn't that bother you, ladies and gentlemen? And your city attorney is trying to get her lawsuit dismissed? You should have settled that years ago. Those cops should have been fired. Your PRC is a sham.
Your time is up.
Your PRC is a sham.
Thank you.
No,
Next
sir,
speaker, please.
Your time is up.
Next speaker, please.
Your time is up. Where's the
Next
justice?
speaker, please.
Where's
Next
the
speaker,
justice?
please.
Where's the
Next
justice
speaker,
for
please.
Kayla Moore? Where's the justice?
Next speaker, please.
For Kayla Moore and her family,
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comment. Next speaker, please.
There are 2 African American women who are not here tonight because they were killed by Berkeley police officers. And in fact, Sergeant Rashawn Cummings, who is one of the most accomplished Urban Shield participants that BPD sends to the competition, unfortunately, there was a tragic situation in 2008 where he was by himself, and there was a 50-some-year-old African-American woman named Anita Gay who had a little too much to drink. She was fighting with her daughters, and she had a knife in her hand, and he shot her dead.
If you don't stop Urban Shield tonight, you are fully complicit in this police terror and racialized systematic violence, as well as complicit in the genocide in Palestine. Again, my council member is Chris Worthington, and I hope you represent the people tonight. Can I ask for an extra minute? Yeah. Thank you. I would like to use my extra minute as a moment of silence to honor Kayla Moore, a young black trans woman killed by the Berkeley Police Department.
And I personally know a Bay Area Muslim family whose home was broken into in the middle of the night by a SWAT team on a trumped-up charge of a stolen camera, and the charge was later proven false. The police ransacked the house to such an extent that they emptied all the toothpaste from the toothpaste tubes. They took all of the deodorant from its containers. They threw all of the Qurans onto the ground and all of their Islamic calligraphy. And this family felt so violated that they no longer felt safe in their home and had to move.
Hello, my name is Sharif Zakut. I'm with the Arab Resource and Organizing Center. And I want to be absolutely clear that Urban Shield is an Islamophobic and racist program. Not only was it funded by UASI, which came out of 9/11 and the War on Terror, a war which we know has devastated our communities, not just Arab and Muslim, but black, brown, and historically marginalized communities, but also Urban Shield would not even have the tools, weapons, and technologies if it were not for the warfare happening in our homelands. It is completely disingenuous of Berkeley City, or any city really for that matter, to say that they stand with Arabs, Muslims, and immigrant communities while simultaneously giving our police tactics and weaponry that was tested on the bodies of our communities and family members back in our homeland. That is not acceptable.
Hello, council members. My name is Isidro. I am a high school student at Midwest High School and a 67 youth leader. Many of my friends and family have been victims of violent SWAT raids. The emotional impact that it has on them is beyond words. We are left traumatized and we can't but help feel violated. In the Trump era, we need to be on the side of the people and our youth. We need to stop criminalizing black, brown, Muslim, and indigenous communities.
We all know that Urban Shield is mainly about militarized police training. I was out at Standing Rock for 5 weeks this fall. I was there the night of November 20th, when the police fired water cannons on people in sub-zero temperatures.
You have taken an oath to defend our Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. The Constitution has a domestic enemy. That's the fascist Trump administration.
War games and militarization perpetuate racism and xenophobia and trauma. Stop, stop, stop Urban Shield! Stop, stop, stop Urban Shield!
A program that teaches us how to profile and how to invoke intimidation in queer communities, trans communities, immigrant communities, and people of color communities. The people united will never be divided. The people united will never be defeated. Thank you so much.
As white supremacy, fascism, extreme xenophobia, and Islamophobia, climate change denial, privatization, attacks on civil liberties and rights are escalating, while cries for intensification of military attacks, surveillance, and use of force are heard from the right wing and the alt-right forces that support them. Of alt-right violence, the federal government's attacks on sanctuary cities, the continued killing of black and brown people by police, mass incarceration, and other social and economic inequities. We need you to stand firm on this issue.
We don't need Urban Shield to be safe or prepared. Gentrification and displacement are emergencies. Climate change is an emergency. Escalated threats to people of color, immigrants, Muslims and Arabs, queer people, and people with disabilities, including mental illnesses, these are emergencies.
I was standing on Shattuck Avenue with my wife, and somebody goes up to her and tells her to go back to her own country. This is personal, it is scary, and I believe in all but one case, folks didn't go to BPD.
Have the use of force and complaints that they've shown you, and they say that they're low. What we know is that black, brown, Muslim, and immigrant communities don't come forward to the police department to raise concerns about how they've been harmed. The country is watching. This is a litmus test for where progressive Berkeley will stand during this time of right-wing power grab.
I'm speaking on behalf of the Bay Area chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace. Our members, as a social justice organization that has followed the human cost of Israel's occupation of the Palestinian people, JVP has become familiar with the machinery of militarized control and surveillance of a civilian population. We are aware that some Urban Shield vendors sell their products to Israel's occupying forces and that Israeli border police units have competed in Urban Shield training involving combat-style policing in the past. UASI programs like Urban Shield perpetuate racist and xenophobic stereotypes and increase trauma in communities already vulnerable to police violence, SWAT raids, and surveillance.
Apparently the Israeli government has sold spy software to spy on cell phones of purported terrorists, and they're being used on human rights attorneys and activists who are fighting government corruption in Mexico.
is that the Sheriff's Department was inviting international police organizations with well-documented gross human rights violations, including mass murder, to participate in annual SWAT team maneuvers in our communities. These police organizations include Israeli Special Police Force, Mexican Federal Police, and the Kingdom of Bahrain National Police. Some people may wonder, is the sheriff bringing in terrorists to fight terrorists?
I think that you're listening to the police. They're dishonest. This is,
please, Mr. Martino.
This issue is, as has been said, a litmus test. Either you're standing with us as an autonomous government, or you're not an autonomous government, and we want to know who you're really working for.
Your time is up, Mr. Martino.
Police departments should not act like an occupying military force.
Surge Bay Area is part of a national network of over 200 chapters around the country, and we have one principal mission, which is to organize white people to be a part of a multiracial majority movement led by people of color. And we're showing up here at this vote tonight, as we did at the last one and the meetings before, to take our responsibility as white people to act collectively and publicly, to challenge the manipulation of racist fears by the ruling class and the corporate elite, and in this case, the police. And our work is listening to the fact that black people and people of color know in their bones what it means to suffer in a society that refuses to acknowledge the racism, know that aggressive policing disproportionately affects black, brown, and poor people, and that black women, children bear the brunt of state violence and of white explanations for this violence. White conceptions of state violence against people of color is to be re-victimized by it.
Now we have a fascist in the White House, and he is in charge of Homeland Security, which is in charge of Urban Shield, and what the hell do you think is going to happen? Something really bad. Okay, thanks.
Urban Shield comes with competitive exercises which hype guns, manliness, roll in fear, and make practicing hunting for the other terrorists and killing competitive sport.
I am a Berkeley resident. I am an immigrant from Denmark. I'm Generation Zero. I'm a daughter of a first responder who is dying of strokes. I am the voice of the one person tonight who will support police anytime and show up the way they do for us, to support Urban Shield. As much training as possible, as much equipment, protective gear, and as much help as they give us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Urban Shield itself has conducted Islamophobic trainings with UCPD president, which directly threatening Muslim students already under great pressure from a hostile federal administration. The ASUC officially condemns UCPD involvement in Urban Shield, and the Office of the EAVP would like to expand this position, opposing BPD's continued participation in Urban Shield to protect Berkeley's most vulnerable residents. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Tracy Rosenberg. I'd like the kind of police department that if it walked into an expo and saw a whole bunch of really repulsive, racist t-shirts sitting there saying black rifles matter and you want peace, you won't get any because destruction is coming, and all the others, you've seen them. I'd like to see a police department that said, get this crap out of my town. I've heard that we've been participating in Oakland in Urban Shield for 10 years. For the first 7 of those years, I know for a fact that every bad guy that got shot for 2 days of exercises happened to be black or brown. I want a police department that called that out in year 1.
So before I begin speaking, I'm going to say something that's weird, which is if anybody's watching the 4th season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm going to give some spoilers. I've moved into my new place recently, and because I don't have a bed, I just got a bed a few days ago. I've had a lot of insomnia because I was sleeping on the floor, and so I've been, in order to deal with that, I've been watching a TV show. So one of the things that's been, one of the main themes in the arc of this season has been an alternative universe where the government agency S.H.I.E.L.D. is replaced by an organization known as Hydra, which is essentially Nazis. They literally were Nazis in World War II, and they come and they rule a police state in which their sole purpose of taking over the government has been to hunt after these inhumans, these people who essentially are a metaphor for groups who are discriminated against in real life. And the biggest thing there is it's a police state. Just like what we are worried about. We've seen a fascist get elected as president of the United States. And what you notice in there is it looks just like here. It's just like real life, except for these small little things where they're starting to discriminate more and more, literally hunting down people.
This isn't just about the era of Trump. I think that's a thing we really need to talk about. There are at least 6 of us on this stage that are old enough to remember the Red Scare. We're old enough to remember people being sent by hose down the steps of San Francisco City Hall because of the free speech movement and because of fighting McCarthy.
We move ahead with acquiring this vehicle, but that we say that we will actually adopt a policy regarding the use of the vehicle, and that before the vehicle's deployed, that policy will be in place and adopted by the City Council.
Excuse me.
So please, we had public comment, you spoke. Now it's our turn to discuss and take action.
Jesse.
Please.
Excuse me.
Please.
To really have some courage and to stand up and make a difference. We have a whole room of people all in opposition. Please, listen to the people.
Thank you. Councilmember Harrison.
I'm kind of perplexed as to how Kyla Moore didn't come up in your presentation as person being killed by the Berkeley PD. I don't get that. Can you please explain? That was just in 2013.
Kayla Moore, the Kayla Moore incident, which we're currently under litigation for, so
yes,
but I will say that the Kayla Moore incident did not involve any of our special response team, any of the topics that we've been talking about tonight. So
but
it's for that reason.
But you stated that Berkeley, no one died in Berkeley PD's
So, Councilor Davila, he can't really comment it in detail
I understand
because
that,
litigation.
but I'm just saying that
that
was a person that died during a police action that should have been noted as being killed or dying during a 911 call. I'm just saying.
Okay, Councilor Davila,
I'm not done.
can we wrap up?
I know this is a late meeting, but this is twice now that you're trying to, I'm just saying that I feel a little bit like I'm being silenced when I don't think I should be.
So,
I just want to say that of an incident that didn't happen in Berkeley, but I believe it was a NCRIC related incident. My daughter went shopping with her friend in Livermore. Her friend's cousin was on some form of probation. They were going shopping. They got pulled over on their way out of the city because of their license plate, I believe. They knew where they went. They knew what stores they went in. They knew that they didn't purchase anything. They asked them why they went to those stores. They knew that my daughter's friend's cousin was on probation, and they harassed them. Of course, they were people of color in Livermore. But those are the kinds of things that happen because of NCRIC, I believe. So I just wanted to state that because it really impacts people of color.
Let's call the roll on the substitute motion.
So the substitute motion to approve the agreement with NCRIC for 1 year
Yes.
is yes, and Mayor Arreguin
No.
is a no. That motion has 5 yes votes. Motion passes.
The motion passes. Okay. Please, let's continue. Would you like us to continue with the meeting? Okay, we'll move on to UASI. I move that we approve the agreement with UASI. Is there a second? UASI.
What was the question?
To approve the agreement with UASI, Urban Area Security Initiative, seconded by Wengrath. Any other discussion? Motion.
Okay, to approve Agreement 3.6 with UASI, Councilmember Mayo, Mayor Arreguin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Davila?
No.
No. Motion passed.
Carries. Okay, so now Urban Shield.
Kind of radically adjusted by my intimate experience during the Trump rallies. I was on scene for all three of them here at the park here in downtown, and what I saw was truly shocking. Nazi salutes. I witnessed a lecture about a thing called the JQ. I didn't know what the JQ was. The JQ is the Jewish question and what to do about the Jews, right? I'm going to support the mayor's motion to get some of the training just in case this pops off in September, but then also...
And then, Mr. Clerk, as I said before Councilor Bartlett spoke, the motion as amended is that we're allowing both our departments to participate in this year's activities. The subcommittee will meet and will make a recommendation within 6 months to the City Council on future participation.
And a plan to get out. Plan to get out.
What? Excuse me. Let's call the roll on the motion.
On the substitute motion, Councilmember Mayo?
On the substitute motion.
Yes. Councilmember Davila?
We're in a roll call. On my motion.
On this?
No.
No. Councilmember Bartlett? Councilmember Bartlett on the
On my
substitute motion?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Harrison? No. No. Councilmember Hahn?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Wengrath?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Worthington? Councilmember Worthington? Councilmember Worthington?
Does not vote.
Councilmember Worthington, do you wish to cast a vote?
No.
Pass? Councilmember Drosty? Councilmember Drosty? Councilmember Drosty votes yes. Mayor Arreguin, do you wish to cast a vote?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Worthington, do you wish to record a vote? The vote has 6 yes votes. The motion passes. The City Council meeting is adjourned.
Fantastic. Please clap. Because you'd be in jail.
By the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything.
Why not? You better believe it. Both sides. Subscribe to Very Fake News.